Good evening, my name is Kacper Paradowski and you're watching Poland Daily News. The new cabinet of Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki will be announced tonight. In the new government of the United Right, which won the elections for the second time in a row, there are sure to be some changes and new faces. The new government's team will be announced following the proceedings of the political committee of the Law and Justice Party. There will be few new ministers and some changes to the structural character, meaning that some ministries will take on the duties of other ministries. The structural changes mentioned by the spokesman could happen with the Ministry of Environment. It is rumored that a new ministry is to be created, the Ministry of National Resources, which would take over the management of state forests. Its head would allegedly become Michał Kurtyka, who until now served as the Deputy Minister of Environment. According to unofficial sources, the Ministry of Environment could be transformed into the Ministry of Climate, led by either Jadwiga Emilewicz or Piotr Woźny. The return of the Ministry of Treasury has also stirred some emotions, as it was abolished at the beginning of the last term of office by Law and Justice itself. It is to be headed by Jacek Sasin. I expect nothing good to come out of this government. In terms of the Ministry of Treasury, let me remind you that it's the same government that abolished it that is now bringing it back. It seems some official had too much freedom with the state-owned enterprises and they decided it all needs to be under Mr. Sasin's tough hand. Changes in the Ministry of Sport are particularly inevitable, since the current minister Witold Bańka has been nominated for the position of the head of the World Anti-Doping Agency. His most probable replacement is Michał Woś from the United Poland Party, who has served as the Minister of Humanitarian Aid. The first sitting of the 9th term of the Polish Parliament will take place this Tuesday, November 12th. As stated by the government spokesman, the new ministers might take an oath as early as next week. Presidential primaries are to be held by the Civic Platform Party. It is known that Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska will take part in them, with a possibility of Radosław Sikorski being one of the contenders. The terms of the primaries were determined today by the party's board. According to our statute, the National Convention is the one to make nominations. What is more, I am convinced by the argument that 3 large events are to be held, which will already be part of the pre-campaign. What we are now trying to introduce to the public is a new person, or people, who will be very active in this public debate over the next 4 weeks. Such a process of nomination is in line with our statute and is, above all, in line with the demands of the public to not stay behind and that the candidate or the candidates should be active in this public sphere. This is a very good solution that is different from the one proposed a week ago, which was that of very wide primaries with an unknown number of candidates and an unknown number of terms which could end after the new year, which would be absurd. Here we have a clear, legible reason. It seems that the amount of candidates will not be too large, but I think that such a discussion will definitely take place. Let me just say, time is running out, therefore this mode of primaries must be accelerated. Who are the candidates? In my opinion, Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska, probably Radosław Sikorski. I don't know of any others. 30 years ago, on the night of November 8th and 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall, which divided Europe with the Iron Curtain after the conclusion of World War II, was finally torn down. This event, next to the Polish Solidarity Revolution, is considered a symbol of a historic breakthrough, which resulted in the fall of communism in Central and Eastern Europe and the regaining of sovereignty by the states belonging to the Soviet bloc. On the occasion of the 30th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo visited the German capital.
Of
course, it is particularly moving for me as I lived and studied on the other side of the Iron Curtain. The US under George Bush helped Germany on its way to German reunification. Today we are close friends and partners. We will, of course, never forget this.
Together we won the Cold War. Germany and the United States and all of our allies and partners. And so it's why I'm really thrilled and happy to be here. It's why I'm so proud. Speaking mere feet from where the wall once stood to celebrate its demise now 3 decades ago. But as we celebrate, as we take this victory lap, we must also recognize that freedom's never guaranteed. You spoke to this. It doesn't just happen. Today, authoritarianism is just a stone's throw away. It's rising, and if we're honest, it never really went away completely.
Emotions are running high in Brazil after the Brazilian Supreme Court reinterpreted Brazil's penal code yesterday, scrapping mandatory imprisonment of convicted criminals who have lost their first appeal. From now on, they will be allowed to exhaust all their appeal options before being locked up. The court's controversial 6-5 votes paves the way for Brazil's former socialist president, Luiz da Silva, to be swiftly released from prison, where he is currently serving a 9-year sentence for corruption. The politically charged reinterpretation of Brazil's penal code could lead to the release of dozens of high-profile convicts, including former leftist president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, jailed last year for taking bribes. By a 6-5 vote, the court overturned a 3-year-old rule that contributed to the success of Brazil's biggest corruption investigation, the so-called car wash operation, that put dozens of company executives and politicians in jail for bribes and kickbacks. Lula was jailed in 2018 after he was found guilty of taking bribes from engineering firms in return for government contracts. His lawyers are expected to swiftly file for his release at the lower court responsible for his conviction. We are asking for the release order to be published immediately, because there is no juridical reason to keep ex-President Lula imprisoned for even an hour. That reason never existed, and now, after yesterday's verdict from the Supreme Court, there is nothing that could keep him in prison. Sergio Moro, the judge who handled most of the car wash trials and is now the Minister of Justice in Bolsonaro's government, warned before the court's decision that overturning the rule would be a big setback for the fight against corruption. The legal team of the former president disagrees. We hope that the federal judge, Dr. Carolina Lebos, can immediately publish the release order, because there is no reason to wait for another event. The Supreme Court's decision confirms what we always knew. President da Silva's conviction and the following impeachment of his socialist successor Dilma Rousseff was interpreted by many Brazilians as a breakthrough in the country's difficult struggle against political corruption. With da Silva about to be released, massive street protests are expected across the country. That is all for tonight. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for Poland Daily Business. Good night.